Nick, plenty of debate over which states are getting more vaccines and who the vaccines are being given to as a priority. Why the argument now that the younger age group needs to be the focus after we've heard so much about the older cohorts for so long?
So, look, I think you need to put this modelling into perspective. This is all about achieving or trying to achieve herd immunity, which means if we can achieve that, that will protect everybody in the population, even those who have decided for whatever reasons not to get vaccinated. So the modelling is very much about this rather than the acute crisis in Greater Sydney and New South Wales and the current situation in terms of vaccination there. To achieve herd immunity, and it is possible according to this new modelling, which I think is very positive in terms of the information. If we can do this, this will protect everybody, but it will require at least 85% of the total population to be vaccinated, and that includes children 12 and above as part of that strategy. So that's what the modelling's really focused on.
Yeah, Nick, perhaps that's why we're not hearing that term herd immunity much anymore. It was something we talked about a lot at the start of the pandemic and when vaccinations were just emerging, but now that term seems to have disappeared a bit from the lexicon. When you're talking about it being 85% and we're looking at 70 to 80% to opening up, there is a bit of a disconnect there as well. What is your take on where we're at in terms of with New South Wales? Obviously, we're hearing the hospitals are under pressure. We are being warned to expect it to get worse before it gets better. What's your reading of how we're looking in New South Wales?
So, look, I think in terms of vaccination uptake, that's the good news side, and I think that's very encouraging. But to be honest, we're going to have a very rough few weeks ahead, possibly longer, because we're going to start to see those hospitalisation rates rise. There's always this few weeks delay between getting infected and getting sick enough potentially to go to hospital. So we're going to see this big uptake, presumably in hospitalisations. There'll be more deaths. There'll be more in ICU, and that's going to be the hard part. And for those of us on the front line, it's going to be really tough because already there's great pressure in the system, as you'd expect, and this is going to ramp up. Now, there's plans in place and there's mitigation strategies, but regardless, it's going to be a difficult time for all. And I think my read is we'll get over it, we'll get through it, but it's going to be tough.
What do you make of what we're seeing overseas, Nick, in terms of the lessons we should be learning here in Australia, and just how panicked are you about reports coming through about more variants being discovered and spreading?
I'm not panicking about the new variants. I'm well aware of them. The Mu is the latest one. There are others. They're obviously of concern. At the moment, Delta is by far the dominant and the one we need to deal with. My worry is if a lot of people just don't get vaccinated, then we will put Australia and the rest of the world, of course, at risk of variants arising that could perhaps escape vaccines. That's the worry that I think most of us have in the professional circles. And so, that's why high vaccination rates really, really are important, not just for preventing hospitalisations and deaths, but also for squashing the virus so that we don't get variants that potentially could escape. Now, that hasn't happened yet. Nothing's come up that's really dominant and very, very concerning, but we need to watch the space carefully, and of course the experts are.
Professor Nick Talley, we always appreciate you taking the time to speak with us on Newsday. Thank you.
Thank you very much.